Welcome everybody from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here today with us. Once again, we're looking at our urban parking system repository that's been designed and developed in Enterprise Architect. We're continuing a series where we're looking at requirements modeling and management and looking at all aspects of requirements in Enterprise Architect and how it can help people to build up a requirements body of work. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined today by Stephen Maguire. Welcome, Stephen. What can you tell us about creating requirements in Enterprise Architect?
Thanks for the introduction, Scott. Always a pleasure to be here. Yes, a very interesting and possibly very large topic, which is why we're doing a series of videos. I have been working on some requirements modeling this morning, Scott, and you can see up in the top right-hand corner here, I have the requirements perspective set. So this sets the focus of the tool onto what discipline I'm currently working on. So to set that, we just simply go into the perspective set and then choose the perspective. I'll select that one there, and you can see the tool changes its focus towards requirement management. We've got a series of patterns here. We've talked about these before. You can inject those directly into your model by hitting the Create Model button there. Great productivity gains. But as always, let's start from first principles. I'm going to close that builders page there. And you can see over here in the project browser now, some work we did in the previous video. And that was looking at the connection between workshops and having stakeholder workshops. And we did a mind mapping diagram there. And then we connected some of those elements to requirements. And so the top elements there, the upper elements are from the mind map, and we've changed those to be requirements. So the language is different. The language of the mind map is in the stakeholders language, and the ones down here are changed into canonical requirements representation. So the system must provide as a opening sentence. We're going to look at how we categorize these requirements today, Scott, and how we create more requirements. So here we have the merchant payment integration, partnership integration, we have municipal reporting. I'm going to close these two diagrams for a start. And what we're going to look at is a stereotype, Scott. So with these elements selected, you can see over in the properties window over here, I'm just going to tuck my toolbox away to create some more space. A very useful thing to do. Just the chevron above the start page there, that tucks it away, gives me a little bit more space here. You can see that the type here is requirement. Now, we have got an element or property here called stereotype, Scott. And if I click on that, a list of stereotypes pops up for the requirements, and I can, decide what type of requirement I want them to be. Now, given that they were stakeholder requirements, I'm going to choose the user requirement option there, and that will then make that. It's like a subtype of the notion of requirement. So you've got a requirement type and a class type and things, and then you can subcategorize that into the type of requirements. And this is a reasonably healthy list. You might want some other types of requirements. You can add those yourself at different points, but let's choose the user requirement there. You can see that the stereotype has been applied. I'll do the same thing for the municipal revenue reporting. I'll choose that one there. So now we've done that, we might want to start looking at how we categorize these elements, and the package element comes into play here, Scott, which is a useful container element. And think about it like your favorite file explorer with folders and things in it. So the package is very similar, analogous to the folder. So what I'm going to do is create some packages here. So one of them I'll put in here is user requirements, and I'll say OK to that. And then I can simply just drag these elements and the diagram up into that package. Now, what I want to show you now, Scott, is two different ways of creating requirements in the tool from the toolbox. So I'm going to create another package here. So I'm going to call it architectural requirements. So these are kind of quite high level requirements, and again I'll put a package in here. I simply choose the new package icon there, give it a name, and that's not the name I wanted. I want So let's say OK to that. And we've got our architectural requirements there. So we're going to now populate that that list here. And one of the things we'll do, Scott, is we'll go in and we'll set up some auto naming conventions for these particular architectural requirements. So this is a facility in Enterprise Architect, and let's go into that, into the settings window. If you're not an administrator, you might need to get an administrator or librarian to do this. But under this one here, under settings, we've got auto names and counters. So let's have a look at that, Scott. And we look at the type here, and let's just put requirement there. We've got our requirement. This brings up a list of stereotypes for the requirement, and you can see they are a list of architectural, business, functional, and we're going to choose the architectural requirements there, and I'll say OK to that. And then we get an opportunity, Scott, to talk about how we want these requirements to be named. And so we're going to put a prefix in here, and I'll prefix it with REQ for requirement, and we'll put in a ARC for architecture, and we'll put a dash after that. So this is what how the name is going to be formed. Then we're going to put a counter in. I'll put in a counter with the opportunity of having, quite a lot of requirements there, and I'll put a suffix in here, which is another dash. So when the requirement's created, it will say recarc dash 001 or 2 or 3 as we go, and then a dash, and then we have the opportunity to put the rest of the name in. I'm going to apply it on creation, so that's important not to miss that step there, and we'll say save and close that. So having done that, we've got ourselves set up for doing architectural requirements. Now, I tucked my toolbox away before. I'm just going to bring it back out again, and you can see it's there. I'm going to make sure I choose requirements there. And I'm going to do this directly in the project browser, Scott. So with any element, it's not just requirements, but with any element, it's very useful sometimes just to do things directly into the browser without creating a diagram, particularly with textual-based elements. So you can see here we've got a list of extended requirements. So we've got this architectural one here, and let's go and we can just drag this onto our package. So select that and then drag and drop it onto our architectural requirements package. You can see that goes in, and voila, you can see that name has gone in as well. So we'll just put in, and that was what I had in my buffer before. So we just simply go over to the properties window, create the name, microservice architecture, and let's go and put some details in about the microservice architecture. And always good to put notes in, Scott, so we can just that in there. And the payment system must be implemented using microservice architecture. So that's all good to go. And let's put another architectural requirement in, and we'll again just drop that from.
So Enterprise Architect automatically increment the counter, and
yeah, it will, Scott. Well, let's see. You took a little bit of my thunder away there. I was going to ask you that same question, and yes, it does. So let's put it in again into that one, and you can see now it's gone in as number 2. So that count has been incremented. Very useful thing, and we've got accessibility compliance there. And so we'll put the notes into that element. So you can see, Scott, now the payment interfaces must comply with accessibility standards. That's all good. And so we have those ones there. We'll look at some other types of requirements. We have got, as you can see here, functional requirements, business, user, non-functional, architecture. So we'll do. So I'll get some of those done in our time travel thing when we complete the diagram behind the scene. So now I want to put in some functional requirements, and so let's do that, and we'll put in another heading here for functional requirements. So again, under the requirements package there, we'll put new package, and we'll say, not that one. I'll just put in functional requirements, and there's our package there. And again, I'll push that up a little bit in the browser, Well, actually, I'll leave it where it is. It looks like it's a good place for it there. So now we're going to do something different. We're going to create a requirements diagram this time. So again, very simply to do, just move up to the browser toolbar, new diagram. We've got the requirements perspective selected. We've got that diagram there, functional requirements. We'll leave it like that. We're under our payment subsystem anyway, so we know where we are. Create the diagram. Now we've got this diagram. So now, Scott, we can get busy with our functional requirements. So let's just do that, and let's put in a number of different requirements here. But the first thing I want to do is I want to now go again back into my auto names and counters, because I want to give this a different acronym to start with. Rec Arc was for architectural requirements. Now I want to go back to that setting and do it for functional requirements. So auto names and counters, again, we choose requirement there and select that. And I'll just go drop that down again. It hasn't stuck when I've selected it. So I will just find that element there. That's the way. And I'm going to select this one again. And now I've got functional requirements.
Functional one, yep.
Yep. So I'll say OK to that. And no guess is what I'm going to put in as the acronym there. Run, and these sound like they're very exciting, fun requirements, but that stands for the word functional there. I'll put in that counter. So we're starting that counter again for this one. And the suffix is going to be just the dash there. So again, we want to apply that mouse, apply that on creation, and we'll say save and close. So now we've got our functional package set, and we've got our functional counter set. Now we can simply drag an element from the toolbox directly onto the diagram. So I'll do that, and you can see that's come up with that prefix there. It's a part of the name, and I'll call this one over to the properties window. Just getting that in my buffer there. Payment processing and methods. So It's gone in. It's gone in there. And again, Scott, I always like to have some notes in these. We know exactly what's going on, especially with requirements. It's an important thing to be putting in. I can resize this element to any shape I want. So I'll do that. And now, Scott, I'm going to show you what happens when we do nesting in Enterprise Architect. So I'm going to put in some requirements that are part of this one. So I have another requirement that's kind of a child of this one. So this is all about payment processing and methods, and we've got that in there. I'm going to put in another functional requirement. I'll just drag that onto the toolbox there. You can see it's got its name again, and I'm going to just put that into the properties window there, and I'm going to give that a name as well. So call payment processing. I'll get that into my buffer, put that into there. It's saving some time not writing the text out from scratch. And so we've got that element there. So what I'm going to do now, Scott, is just make this a little bit bigger, and keep an eye on the project browser now. I'll make this a little bit bigger and make this one perhaps a little bit bigger as well. And I'm going to drag this element in the diagram onto the other element, because it's kind of nested, it's part of that. So I'll drag it on in the project browser. Now you can see these two things are at the same level, requirement 1 and 2. Yep. And I'll drag that on there now, and you can see that Enterprise Architect has done that work to put that one underneath it. Now I can just continue with that same story. We're going to have under we've got core payment processing. We're going to have another one called payment methods as well. So I'll just again drag that in from the there we go, put that one in as well, drag it in from the toolbox, put it in, and payment methods, that one's called, isn't it? And we would have some notes for that as well. We won't continue on with that. People know now that that's the right thing to do. Again, I will make these guys the same height and width. Choosing my layout ribbon there, multi-select them. One with the stipple border becomes the one that's going to be templated. Same height and width, and I'll align them there. So I can continue that story, Scott. And in fact, what's going to happen, I'll give you a little bit of a preview. What's going to happen is that we're going to do this, but we're going to actually include different elements inside these ones as well. So I'm just going to make people aware of what's going to happen. We're going to be doing something like this, and again, putting another level, like a third level
so you
inside.
can embed at multiple levels as well.
Yeah, which is what happens with requirements, Scott. You know, if you're working on a system of any size, really reasonable size, you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of requirements, and they're going to be nested under each other. So that's good practice to do that. So let's do some time travel magic. I'll complete this diagram, but also I'll complete the browser as well and bring in a number of other types of requirements. You've seen how I can create functional and architectural. We'll do that from implementation and regulatory and things as well. So I'll get you to do some time travel magic.
Welcome back. I've done a little bit of time travel and editing magic, and we've now got our completed functional requirements diagram. So can you tell us a little bit about what this diagram conveys or tells our audience about requirements?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Glad to be back here. Yeah, and great introduction to that. It is a story. It's a narrative. You're creating a narrative that's describing what the system that you're building, or the subsystem part of the system, what it must do, the things that it must provide to its users and stakeholders. So let's just tuck our toolbox away. I can simply do that by clicking on the chevron here, and we've got a little bit more room there. I'm going to expand the project browser. We've got quite a lot in that browser at the moment. So what you can see is the diagram that we started that's now being completed. We've got this overarching payment processing methods, then within that we've got core payment processing, payment methods, price management, and within that again we've got a whole series of other requirements. And again, they've all got descriptions on them, and that's important because the name itself doesn't give everything away. I encourage people to write a short name that's descriptive enough and discrete enough, but then to put in information into the notes window, the details of that. And so that's where the core statement, the system must integrate with popular digital wallets such as PayPal, Venmo, and similar services. Integration should allow users to pay directly from their wallet balances without leaving the parking application. So this is all about parking payments. Now, if you have a look what's happened in the browser, a couple of things have happened. Under functional requirements, you can see now that as we started, you were looking at these things getting nested as we added elements to in the diagram to other elements and made them nested. And so that nesting has been continued, and we went down to 3 levels. So now you can see that there, and you can see that the payment processing thing has got core payment, payment gateway, integration, transaction methods. And if we looked at another one, say the systems operation and integration one, we can see there that there's system integration, data analytics, enforcement and compliance. So let's have a look under the data analytics one there, revenue analytics, user behavior analysis, and fraud detection. So you can see now that the diagram and the browser are aligned with each other. In the diagram, the nesting is represented visually by containment. Things are contained in other elements, and in the browser, the containment is represented in a tree view where the elements are nested. Now that's taken care of if you create the elements in the diagram and put them in, and the same thing will happen in the project browser. The other thing that we've done, let's close this functional package up for a minute. We had our architectural requirements that we talked about before, and we've got our user requirements, and they were part of our initial work where we were working with the stakeholder payment workshop. And remember, we said how that was working. And we've got regulatory requirements, and again, they've got a code, REQ reg, and security requirements, and implementation requirements. I've just put a simple number of those in there to show how that's working. There would obviously be more, more requirements as we flesh out those and talk to the.
And even though they don't have a diagram, you can view those in a specification view if you want to view them all.
Yeah, exactly, Scott. So I can simply go into this user management one here, or this regulatory requirements one there, and I can simply go to the start or the design ribbon rather, and go to the specification view there, and you can see that those elements are there. You can see that the stereotype is that they're a regulatory requirement, and as we build that up, that will get larger. The text is underneath there. I can put that text in a different position in the columns there if I want to, and work with it like a spreadsheet. But we'll be looking at a really large number of ways of viewing this content in a future video. So this is, covers the creation of requirements, both directly in the browser and on the diagram. And in future videos, we'll look at all the myriad of ways that we can view these requirements and work with them.
Excellent. Oh, thanks for showing us how to create requirements in Enterprise Architect. And it's great to see how easy it is to manage them and to view them and to sort through them, and being able to view them in a diagram form and a text-based form. It's really quite powerful. As always, to our customers that are watching this video, thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, we encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel, where you can see hundreds of videos similar to this, all free on our website and YouTube channel. If you have any questions about requirements management and modeling, you can reach out to Stephen Maguire via his LinkedIn and website credentials that are listed in the video description below. Thank you, Stephen, for basically introducing us to the requirements management and modeling process within Enterprise Architect. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Scott, and stay tuned, everyone, for lots of exciting videos about requirements modeling in the future.